Good.
I love you live. Okay, if you are with us tonight, tuned in, we are talking about first-time home buyers and first-time home owners. Okay, so tonight we have a special guest. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Charneisha. I am a homeowner. I've been a homeowner now for 4 years. And yeah, I live in Central Florida, Orlando to be exact. And I'm here to share all of what I know.
I love that. Thank you for joining us. And she's going to keep it real, real, like not real, like
Yes.
capital letters, real, real. So if you don't know already, my name is Dawn Reeves-McKinney. I am an Orlando realtor, and I felt it was really important to put together this stream for those who are interested in purchasing a home, who wanted to know what it's really like. Not what the magazines and HGTV and TikTok is saying, from people who actually own homes, who went through the process, who can keep it real with you. So we are going to jump straight in. And you already told us who you were, Charneisha. If you can tell us what's one word, if you had to put your home ownership journey into one word, what would that one word be?
The entire journey or the home buying process and then the home buying, like moving in and that experience.
I'm going to let you tailor it to what you feel like the word that resonates with you the best, because you're more unique. You've had your home for a couple of years.
hmm
So out of each stage, which one stands out to you the most that you can put one word on it?
So I think my experience is a little different and unique because my home buying experience, I anticipated to be chaotic because that's how everyone like told me it was going to be. And mine was easy breezy, literally 30 days from start to finish, close, you are in a home. So for that portion of it, I would say easy, smooth. But the home ownership part after closing and you get those keys and you move in, oh, chaotic, chaotic.
I like it. So we have two sides of that coin. We have
hmm
pre-close and we have post-close. So it sounds like you're
hmm
going to talk about post-close a lot tonight too.
I'm talking about whatever you want to talk about. Both.
I
We can
love
talk
it.
about the clothes and the after.
Okay. So when it comes down to your decision, like what made you say, you know what, I'm going to purchase a home. I want to be a homeowner.
Okay. So in 2019, I had like a traumatic life experience, lost a sibling, and I just wanted to be back, with my family, close knit. So at that time, I was living in an apartment here in Altamont Springs. Loved the area. I was a teacher at the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back, move back at home into the home with my parents, and do that whole thing and be close with them. And that was short lived. Like 6 months, I was like, love my parents, love my sister, but woo, I think when you get that little experience of living on your own and going back, it's like, okay, we did this and it's not working. So I decided at that point I was gonna move out in the next like year. But my plan was to move back into an apartment. It's like, oh, I love my apartment, I don't have to worry about all that homeowner stuff. I'll just move into an apartment. Little did I know after COVID, because this was post COVID now at that time, it was like 2021, the apartment market was as rough as the housing market. So the same apartment that I was paying $900 for rent was now $1,300,
Mm.
$1,400 on a teacher salary. I was like, oh no. All right, let's look at this house buying process. So I just made a decision that, okay, if I'm going to spend that amount of money, I might as well buy the house. So I just decided at the time they had, I don't know if they still have it. I think it's Homes for
Oh,
Heroes. Yes. And so I was a teacher and I qualified for that. So I was like, I'm just going to save the next couple of months and then I'll start looking for a house. I thought that once I start looking for a house, I had enough time to go ahead and save that money. Everything, excuse me, everything started moving so quickly. And so at that point, it was like, okay, God, I guess this is what you want me to do. So it's no turning back now. And I was in the home ownership process.
love that. So with Hometown Heroes, it's so crazy you just mentioned that, because we've been waiting to hear if they're going to have money for this year. And another thing I think I hear a lot is that people think that they have to have all this money saved to get into a house. So
hmm
what what would you say your expectation versus the reality was when it came down to how much money you had to come out of pocket?
I can't remember the exact numbers, but I anticipated spending like $20,000 because I know at one point people were saying, make sure you save 10. And I was like, I don't know if that's enough. So I just started at that point. I wasn't paying any rent. It was COVID. We were staying home. So I was limiting the shopping because, of course, we all know COVID, we were home shopping. So I just kind of saved up everything. And I think very quickly I came up with the $10,000 and I just kept kind of stacking up until that final close. And they said, I think I had to bring like $6,000 to close. And I was like, oh, perfect, perfect. So
So you
that was kind of the
over
goal.
prepared.
Yeah.
I love that. And
Well, in
oh, go ahead.
hindsight, in hindsight, I didn't prepare enough. But
Okay.
in that moment, I prepared because I had enough for clothes and I had a little bit of cushion once I moved in. But it wasn't enough cushion when I moved in.
And I definitely want you to talk about that. So now we're getting into your journey. So you had a successful closing. It was easy breezy. You had a good experience, but now you get the keys. You are officially a homeowner. Take us through what that looked like. You can go first 30 days. You can go first year. What did it look like post close?
First 30 days was good, even first 6 months. I think my main message to people is just make sure you do your research. You have your realtor, they're good at their job, but make sure that you know that you're asking the right questions because you don't know what you don't know. So when it comes to the inspections, I remember people saying, "Oh, you don't need the I think it's the WDO, the one that looks for
Yeah.
termites." And lo and behold, swarmer season came and I started seeing these little wings and I'm like, "Well, what is this?" Termites.
Ooh.
Termites. But what they didn't tell you, because I was familiar with, getting a termite bond and all of those things prior,
Mhm.
but what you don't know is that there's or three types of termites. So I negotiated that my seller get a termite bond, but I never specified which type. So my seller got a subterranean termite bond. What I needed was drywood. So yes, I have still to this day, I have bait stations outside for the subterranean termites,
Right.
but I had to then fork out, I think it was $3,000. I did it over time, payment
Okay.
plans for them to come and spot trees, spray in the attic, all of that for termites. I would say I bought a older home, but that was my preference. At the time, I did not that I didn't want a new build, it was out of my price range for a new
Okay.
build at the time in Central Florida because I knew that I did not want to live in Claremont or Mount Dora or Kissimmee. I knew that I wanted to live within the city limits of Orlando or Seminole County, preferably Altamont. And so at the time, I could not afford a new build in those communities. So I was like, okay, everyone talks about older homes. The bones of it is great, but the older homes also come with the work. I also look for a home that what you guys would call turnkey. My house was not turnkey because it looked good. They redid the bathrooms. They actually redid the plumbing. They redid the flooring. What I didn't know is, and I think this also comes with being from Miami as well. We don't
Mhm.
have a lot of homes in Miami that are on septic tanks. We have
Right.
a lot of homes in Central Florida that are on septic tanks. So I knew what that meant, but I didn't know what that actually meant. A year into my home, my septic tank went out. $12,000.
Wow. Did you do an inspection for the septic?
Nope.
Okay. Yep.
Nope. So that was also something I don't want to say that my realtor failed me because I don't want to
Mhm.
put that much responsibility on my realtor because I should have known better as well. I did not, and I wasn't informed that I should have got a septic tank inspection. For me, plumbing is all one thing. So I thought, okay, y'all redid the plumbing, everything should be good.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, things started to happen. I think that same year, I ended up closing in 2022. That same year, we had a slight hurricane.
Mm.
And that's when I just noticed that there was a lot more water in the yard. There were a lot just different things. And so I had plumbing people come out and they were like, you have a septic tank. So we started looking for it, looking for it.
Mm.
It was the original 1950 septic
Wow.
tank. Hmm.
Okay, so I want to put a pin. You said a lot right there. So
Hmm.
you talked about the termite. So for those of you who are not familiar, so she's talking about wood destroying organisms. That's what WDO stands for. And when you are getting an inspection done, that's during a due diligence time. So you are allowed to do as many inspections as you want, Unfortunately, there's no refund. So if that inspection report comes back and it's a hot mess, or you find out that there's termites or there's this or there's that, roach infestation, you at that point have the ability to either negotiate to get it fixed or treated, or in her case, she did get a negotiation for termites, but like she said, it wasn't necessarily the exact termite that she needed it for. But all of these things, those are great questions that when you strategize with your realtor to kind of figure out early in the process, because then you can start calculating what the numbers look like. Because it's not that
Mhm.
you didn't love the home, right? And she just told you the location is everything. And last time I checked, God's not making more land. So you got to make sure that the area that you're in is one that you're confident, so you can make the necessarily investment for whatever it is that needs to be done. But you don't want it to
Mhm.
catch you off guard either. So that's
Right.
important. Septic, I cannot stress this enough. You do not play when it comes to septic. So unfortunately, you know, Charneisha, I'm so sorry that you had to experience like figuring out that that's where stuff
Mhm.
was being housed. But you are saving so many people who want homes with character. Like that's one of the number one questions I would ask is this septic? Because
Mhm.
it does cost some money to do an inspection for septic, but if it's original to the home and that home is well over what 50 years old, it's going to
So,
be worth it in the long run because
yes.
it's going to benefit you. So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And just for those who are watching who don't know what those things were.
Yeah, of course. And I don't wanna scare anyone because, yes, it was pricey and it was expensive. However, a septic tank is only something that you have to get installed or reinstall every 75. So I just happen to be the one, to have to do it, but in hindsight too, it also boosts my property value because now that is something that when I either go to sell or I put a tenant in, I don't have to worry about, and also it makes your water bill really low because you don't have all of the taxes and fees that comes with treating the water. Like, my water bill is $12 every month faithfully, and I'd be like, "That's the bill I'm willing to put on auto pay. Take the rest amount."
I love that. So you kind of talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to be very intentional. So I'm looking at my notes. If you can
Mhm.
complete this sentence, nobody told me that blank. What's one thing that you wish someone had shared with you?
One thing that I wish someone had shared with me, that it's gonna be a love-hate relationship. Home ownership is a love-hate relationship because every day that I pull in my driveway and I am like, "You did that. You did that." But also sometimes I come in the house and I'm just like, "Oh, girl, house, I am over it." Just even when small things come up, if it's like a clogged sink or whatever, things that you have to deal with, is like, because I think the thing with home ownership that we have to remember is that these things that you anticipate is gonna be $50, you're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna call someone out. They're gonna come fix it." You're like, "Oh, that'll be 150." No, the service fee is just 100 or 150, not included whatever the issue is. So I
Mhm.
think people have to remember too with home ownership, when things go wrong, it's not gonna be cheap. It's not gonna be $50. It's always gonna be over $100. In my case, I don't know about you, Don, but in my case, it's always
So
over $100.
in fairness to what you're saying, we went new build route because we
Mhm,
collaborated as a family to purchase our home, and we paid more upfront with the purchase price of the home. So our mortgage is higher
mhm,
because essentially you're paying for those features, the ability to call
mhm,
warranty and say, "Hey, come check out this sink or come look at this plumbing issue." So we pay for it up front. Versus with you, like you said, you invested in your space for the location. So I
mhm,
think you also have to weigh which way you want to go with how your financing looks. Do you want a
mhm.
long-term gain where you just finance it over time? Or do you want to do the route where you feel most comfortable with the payment and you're willing to put in the work? Because you get your hands dirty. Like I've seen you
Yeah,
doing some projects. So
yes.
that's not me. I'm not doing that. So, so tell me about that experience.
Yeah, luckily, I met my boyfriend who is also now he's in the field, he's a HVAC technician, so he's very hands-on, he loves to get dirty. So something that we also ran into, which I feel like it's normal sometimes here in Florida is either like mold and
Yeah,
different things like that. So
very
we ran
common.
into an issue where in all of this, I want to be clear with this too. All of this also trickled because of the septic issue with water intrusion. So we went to pull up flooring in my master bathroom and we realized that there was mold. So we want to make sure everything is good. We got a mold test, which by the way is not cheap as well. That was a couple $100s. And so there was a high number of mold, like mold spores is what they're called. And so at that point it was like you can re-put down the floors, but it's still going to be mold. Or you can pull up the floors and you can kind of like do the bathroom piece by piece. My boyfriend decided we're just going to pull up the floors and we're going to just demo the whole bathroom. We're going to redo the bathroom, which is good because at the same time when we redid the bathroom, we were able to redo the drywall, which is what was affected for years by the termites. So, yeah.
You definitely have been boosting your property value like slowly over time. So I love the fact that you are not afraid to do the things, right? When we go into this conversation,
I'm always afraid, but I do it scared anyway because what else?
okay, thank you for reframing that, because when we have conversations with people who are interested in looking at homes, that's a real conversation. Like if you go new construction route, there's a price for that depending on the area you want to be in. If you go character route, there's a price for that. Are you prepared mentally? And if not, what do you need to be prepared mentally, because it's going to happen with or without you being on board. Because unfortunately, if you don't get the mold taken care of, you can get sick. And mold is very common in Florida. Like it's almost you're expected to see it. It's just at what point do you catch it so it can be treated?
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of times people are just kind of hesitant, and I think rightfully so, but you just have to figure out what you really want, what are your non-negotiables, and go from there.
So that leads me to this next question. So what advice, it could be from Google, Instagram. I know TikTok was popping back then. I think that's when it first like kind of took off. What was like some advice you were like, that was not good advice? Like that was a hot mess. And now that you look back and you know that that was bad advice or
To be
misleading.
honest, I don't misleading. So I'll tell you this, I'm the first in my family to buy a house. My mom didn't buy a house. My grandparents bought a house after I closed. But on my dad's side, my grandma owned her home. So I didn't really have a lot of guidance, which I think kind of influenced my decision a little bit because I was just gung ho, like I'm gonna buy a house and now I've come this far, I'm just gonna close on the house. Um, Misleading. I don't know, something that was misleading. I don't think I have an answer for that one.
Well, that's good, because right now the big one is property taxes, right? We got people who think that they're going to move in their house and they're not going to have to pay taxes. And we're like, okay, wait, we're voting on that. And, with that, you're going to pay for it in some capacity. So that's
Yeah.
been a hot topic we're seeing all over TikTok and Instagram right now.
Can
Um,
but with that, can I add something? I'm sorry if
Go
I'm
for
going
it.
off of script in your
No,
notes.
you're fine.
One thing that it wasn't misleading, but I didn't realize, well, I guess this can fall into misleading homestead. So a lot of times people tell you as soon as you get in the house to file your homestead. Even if you file your homestead, as soon as you get into your house, there is a deadline
All right.
that you have to make sure you like file it before. And
Mm-hmm.
even then, I think the first year you're not eligible. And maybe that's Orange County, maybe that's
No,
Orlando. But
you are right. January
okay,
1st, if you did not live in that house that whole year, you got to wait until the next year.
so yes, I closed in February. I think it was January 31st. So I closed in February. And that whole year, everyone was like, file your homestead, your taxes are going to be lower. I filed my homestead. And then the next year, my taxes was crazy. So that next year, I had to make sure I was saving a little bit extra for those taxes because I didn't know what it was going to be at that point. And then a lot of people think that the number that they give you, that's based off of what the previous owner was paying. And a lot of times, what they don't realize is that your property value goes up when you buy the new house because of whatever improvements. They're still being taxed off of the assessed value years prior. And I'm kind of going through that a little bit. Like my grandma bought a house in 73 in Homestead. She does not pay the same taxes as if I was to buy a house next door to her.
Correct.
Her tax is probably $500. Mine might be 5,000. So
Yes.
I think that is something that people don't realize either.
I love that you brought that up because that is a big reason why some families lose properties. They think when they inherit these things that, oh my God, we're going to have either no property tax or little to no property tax, and they realize it's
Mhm.
thousands of dollars because, like you said, the assessed fees. So filing for homestead does save you as a property owner, but from the time that you purchase the property, you're not taking
Mhm.
or adopting whatever the taxes were from the previous owner. So that's a huge one. So thank you for calling that out. Did you notice that your mortgage adjusted when they increased your taxes?
Girl, my escrow short every year. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
So
My taxes go up every year. So now I just make sure I am adding extra money. One of my friends recently said she had an escrow overage, and I was like, tell me your ways because I don't know how. But she said she overpaid a
yep.
few years ago. But yeah, so I think, and that's something I also have a conversation with my boyfriend about because he wants to purchase a home as well. It's like, make sure, I don't care if they approve you for 500, 600, 800,000. Buy a house much lower than that because they're never going to accumulate for how much the taxes are actually going to go up because we honestly don't know. They can build a whole new development right down the street and then your property taxes go up. Again, I live in an older area. I live in Lockhart. In my the homes in my neighborhood have been around since the 50s. My house is a 1950 house. They just built 4 new houses on my street and they all sold for over $400,000. So
Yeah.
that makes my property taxes then go up because my property value. So it's a give and take. It's a good and bad. Your property value is going up, but you're also going to pay for it as well. So
And that is a great point because we have this conversation about you when you're buying a house in a more established community, you are paying for you as a homeowner. You've established that.
mhm,
You guys have been there for a while, you've put money into it. So anybody who's coming into that space, like you want it to be an Altamont, you're paying for that established community.
right.
But on the flip side, people who are moving into new construction in areas that nothing was there, they're taking a chance because you may not have your property value increase at the
Mhm,
that like Lockhart is. So with that being said, it's really important to like be happy with where you're at because it may or may not adjust and change as quickly or as slowly as people would want it to be. But then you bring me to that hidden cost conversation. What other
mhm.
things do you feel like, dang, I wish somebody would have told me that that was something I need to consider?
Um, I feel like my situation is just crazy where I bought the neighborhood. I don't have an HOA. However, I live in an unincorporated area. So I have to pay for the light that's on the street in front of my house. So that's a hidden cost. It's only $12 a month, but they literally came knocking on the door like, hey, we're gonna disconnect this light unless you put it in your name because it was in the last person's name. And I'm like, okay, disconnect the light. Pitch black. Can't see anything. My mom came over one day because I was just gonna like thug it out, like, Mom, I don't need another bill. My mom came over, she was like, yeah, no, you need this light on. Call him back. Call him back. So it's just those different things. But I also take it with a grain of salt because I have a house, I have a yard, I have a driveway, I have a gate, I have all of these things that aren't really, I'm not gonna say accessible, but you're gonna pay top dollar for now because of where we are post
Mhm.
COVID. So give and take. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. But it's one of those things that you wake up and do it.
I love that. That's real. Like there are some days where you may wake up and look at this like this is a whole bill. Like this, this but when you are having a good day, it's like this is my bill. Like I enjoy
Mhm.
being in this space. And that leads me to, did you have an emotional part of your journey, whether pre-close or post-close, where you're like, I did this, or like this is really hard, but I'm doing this? Can you recall one of those moments?
Yeah, I think I have them. I have them often because Never, I guess not really growing up in a house, like always living in like the same apartment from middle school to high school. But like, when you're growing up, that's home for you. And
Yeah.
and when you become an adult and you're like, oh wait, I never really had a yard, or I never really we just went outside and played in an apartment complex. And so when you look back and you're like, I didn't have anybody to really pass something down to me or show me the ropes or be like, this is what we did when we bought a house, or to just know like, okay, I did this on my own. Like it wasn't perfect. It's still not perfect, but you got a house, your mortgage is less than a lot of what my friends are paying for rent. And just, I guess, seeing what is happening in the housing market and seeing especially all of the gentrification that's happening in our neighborhoods where we grew up in South Florida, and just being like, yeah, you're gonna have to like bury me in my house at this point to get me to sell today. Tomorrow you might ask me and I'm gonna say y'all could come get it. But yeah.
If
I
the price
I
is
just
right.
really wanna be yeah, I just really wanna be honest and transparent with people. Like, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be days, but it all is worth it in the end when you're like, my favorite thing to do, especially when people come knock on the door and I don't wanna talk to them, be like, "Oh, this my property. I can tell you to get off. I can tell you to get off my property." I always saw that in the commercials and the videos and the movies. I can literally tell y'all to get off my property. Okay.
How's that feel? How does that feel?
Oh, great. Great. Especially like if it's someone trying to solicit or get something I've already had a conversation with you about, and it's like, okay, Spectrum. I don't want Spectrum. Please get off my property. Please. So yeah.
I love that. And then the last thing, and that's going to tie us up for or wrap us up for tonight, is what moment do you wish someone would have warned you about that you would like to warn others about?
Know for yourself with anything, whether that's the house buying process, whether that's after close with your taxes, call, ask questions. You don't like the answer, ask again to make sure it's the same answer. Just don't take it for what they say it is, even when it comes to like how much you need to bring at closing, because everything is changing. When I bought a house 4 years ago, it's different. Everything is changing. So you want to make sure that you are well informed. Just stay well informed. Even now, we have access to ChatGPT. Hey, does this sound right? Is this, I live in Florida. Does this sound accurate? And just make sure you're asking all of those questions. Your boots on the ground. When the inspectors come, I don't care if you got to go to work, tell them you are sick. You need to be there with the inspectors and ask whatever questions that you need to ask, see whatever you need to see, because at the end of the day, this is a very big commitment. This is a 30-year or a 15-year, if you can afford it, commitment. And especially now, I saw something recently that said the average homeowner, a first time homeowner in Florida is 42.
Yeah.
We do not have time. We don't have time. 30 years, 42, you're 70, you're 72 at that point. So you want to make sure that like you are in a financial situation to either be able to pay off your home or to pass it down, whatever it is that you want to do, or refinance and sell. What are those stipulations? Because I didn't get any first time like home buyer program fees. But even with that, like, how long do I need to live in this house so I don't have to pay you money back? If I move out in 1 year, how much do I have to pay you back if I take these funds? Because remember, nothing is free.
Thank you, because the episode before this one, we spoke with a down payment assistance program and they kept it real. That is not for everybody because it's essentially a second mortgage or a lien.
Mm-hmm.
And if you move out of that property before the designated time that's in the requirement, you're expected to pay that money back. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't tell you how many times I've heard from people who are homeowners who thought that they were going to be in a house for a couple of days and decide that they were going to rent it out. There are a lot of stipulations with these things. So you got to be
Mm-hmm.
very clear on what your goals are because nothing's free. It's just
Yeah.
about knowing how are you going to pay for it and what it looks like and are you comfortable with it. So if you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
finance that down payment assistance, then don't finance it. Get something, like you said, less than what you've been approved for. So I am grateful to hear from you because you are very, very aware of being involved. And I can't tell
Thank
you
you.
how many times I think people don't realize how much you're investing in this. And it shouldn't be just the realtor. It shouldn't be just a lender. It should be you as a buyer knowing what's going on too, because this is one
Yes.
of the biggest financial decisions of your life.
Yep. I agree.
And if you could do it all over again, would you still do it?
Real, the
Yeah,
real. You
real.
want the real? I
Yes.
wouldn't do it alone. I wouldn't do it alone.
That's real.
I would not do it alone. As much as I love to be like, oh, I did it, I did it, I did. I wouldn't do it again alone.
What
Whether
would you
that's with
do
a partner, whether that's, I was gonna say whether that's with a partner, a parent. I don't know about a parent, partner. Do it with a partner, unless you have that really really good relationship with your parents. Because again, it is a very big financial commitment. So yes,
I love that. I see. That's why you're here, because you keep it real. There's
yeah.
no one
Like
size
it's
fits
just been
all.
so much easier to just be like, oh, I don't know. I'm just gonna use an example. This didn't happen. Let me not
Mhm.
find a piece of wood. Like the sink gets clogged, and I could just be like, babe, the sink. The sink versus me coming home from work and having to be like, oh, I gotta find a plumber. Then I don't know if he's gonna try to charge me $1 million because he see a damsel in distress. And that's just being honest and real. Like, because they might say $500, and I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I need my sink fixed. Meanwhile, like you have another man, he's like, that doesn't sound right. We'll get a second opinion. And I'm
That's
over here
so
like, I need the
funny.
sink fixed. So,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
have a client right now. She has her guy friend come over whenever she does any work on the house. And she's like, they're not about to jack up the price on me. So I find that funny because it reminds me of like when we get our cars done, right? Like when they quote us on something, it's like, that don't sound right. But if you send the
mm-hmm.
dude in there to go do it, it's like, oh, you're going to give him the right price. You're not going to jack that up for me. That's
And
crazy.
it
But
sucks that it's like that, but it's really like that sometimes.
dang, that's real. Well, I am done with my questions. I feel like you gave us a different perspective and
I
it's
hope I didn't
real.
scare everyone away.
No, I think this is like, if we're going to be honest, it's just like with anything. Like you and I were both educators. So I think
Mm-hmm.
we have the reality check of like, you can't be biased about things.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to work for everybody? No. Should everyone be a homeowner? Honestly, no. If you're not able to take care or be responsible for this thing, then you shouldn't have it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of work. I just cut down a tree in the front yard because I was like, who's gonna be doing raking leaves and stuff? Yeah.
And that awareness that you're not going to do it, right? And removing the
Mm-hmm.
thing that's causing the tension. And I think that's just with life. There are some people who are meant to be homeowners and, like you said, doing things scared because it still has to get done. And understanding that everyone's journey is different. So I kind of always talk about like everything is like a pearl to me. Like pearls, if you look at the actual process of a pearl, I guess evolving over time, is irritants, it's layers, it's constantly like, it's not the beautiful process, but when you see it at the
Mm-hmm.
end, it's like, oh my God, this thing is so nice. Like they sell it for these.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some cheap, inexpensive pearls, but they're not real. But my point is like, there are things and layers to the journey that make it worthwhile, but not everybody appreciates that.
Yeah.
And I think in this space, it's so important to talk to people who are in it, because I've heard from people who will tell you about buying a home, but they've never owned anything in their life. I'm talking about everything. They rent everything, clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Now there's rental programs for outfits, for jewelry. Like there's rentals for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you value ownership, I feel like there's no better feeling than being a homeowner, because you're investing in you.
Right.
Like, and if you understand that it's a long game, it's not like a quick, what is that? Like a get rich quick concept with building equity. And like how you said with escrow, sometimes you're going to come up short. Where's that money going to
Mm-hmm.
come from? You're either going to roll it into your mortgage or you have that money saved. But that's being responsible. Some people
Mm-hmm.
don't know to be responsible because they weren't aware or they weren't informed. So platforms like this give us the opportunity to let people know up front. So that way, do it scared, but know that you don't have to be ignorant either. Like there's stuff out here for you.
Right.
I
Well,
appreciate
thank
you so
you for
much.
inviting me.
You cut out, say it again.
I said thank you for inviting me on your platform.
Of course, you are great. And anybody who's watching, if you are considering the Central Florida area, we would love to connect so that way we can help you find your home. Like I said, I service the west of Orlando, so I have no idea what's happening on the east side, but I would love to get you connected and just open those doors for you to become a homeowner in our Central Florida area. So you guys have a good night, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, let me make sure.